kind of led you to down the road with Loveland Frogman? What are some of the things that you found out about the origin story of the Loveland Frogman?
The first, I don't remember I knew of him, her, it.
Yeah.
Before I moved to Ohio. I don't remember what book it was. It was a hardcover. But it had what has now become this iconic image. It's an illustration of this giant half man, half frog thing that's sort of looming over a guardrail.
Yeah.
And the story that is always associated with that is that's what this thing looked like. Basically a 5 to 6 foot tall, half man, half frog thing that police officers shot at.
Right.
And when I first heard that, I was like, that's the most badass cryptid I've ever heard,
Right,
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got like Bigfoot chucking things, but he's always in a distance. This is the thing that policemen, and it had the names of the officers, and I'm like, there's got to be something to that.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to Ohio, I had a short list of the places and things that I wanted to investigate. It was Hilltown, Franklin Castle, and the Loveland Frog. And when I started digging into it, the first thing I did was go, dating myself, you go to the microfiche, and you sit there and you start digging through the newspaper thing. And it all went back to basically one newspaper article about the sighting in 1972, but it was just, there were 2 police officers that saw it roughly 2 weeks apart. The first officer, the one who saw it first, who didn't shoot at it, never spoke about it. He's still alive. He still doesn't speak about it.
That's what I remember you saying. Yeah.
And to me,
he still won't.
He doesn't want to be on a, he's afraid that, his peers and people around him and being ridiculed. A lot of people don't ever come out and speak.
And I have done everything short of showing up at his
with $100,000. Jeez,
I don't think I'd ever show up with that. The candy bar.
I was about to say that same thing.
Well,
tell you what, I might tell you the story. You show up with $100,000 candy bar at my house.
That's been in the news lately. Logan Paul showed up to Chuck Clark's house with $100,000 for that UFO footage. And
guess he needed more publicity. Is he kind of?
He wouldn't sell it.
No, he wouldn't. He would not sell it. Take $100,000. Wow. But man, I would love to talk to that guy. So you kind of ran into a wall there,
in a way. And I've written to him actual letters and kind of people that he knew, that he was friends with, kind of sent messages to him, but he doesn't want to talk about it. And what I have hinted out, I've never actually come out and said this to him because it's a bit morbid, but when he passes, he is witness zero.
Yeah.
He is the first one that saw the creature that is known as the Loveland Frog. If he doesn't share it, I mean, I've gone so far as to be like, off the record, I will not say anything. I just want to know, what did you see? His story, when he reported what he saw, he has never commented on it. The second officer changes his story every couple of years.
That's what me and Bub kind of dug into. That's when we were like, it's tough to validate because this guy's stories constantly, and you can find blogs from like the 90s.
Yes.
In the late 90s where he wrote about the Loveland, the encounter.
And the stories vary as widely as, so the second officer is the one who shot at it. In the original version, which is in the newspaper article, he is the one that's interviewed. It's after his sighting. And he said that he shot at it. He believes he hit it. He thinks it might have been an iguana, but that it fell into the river.
Right.
He has changed that. And the most recent version, which is when it was the Pokemon Go sighting.
Yeah.
2016, I think. That was when this officer, now since retired, came out and said it was a tailless iguana that he shot, killed, threw in the trunk of his cruiser, took back to the station, showed the first officer, and the first officer said, yep, that was it. Except the 1972 article where he is interviewed, none of that's in there. So if he didn't want to get ridiculed,
Yeah.
wouldn't he then say, yeah, I shot
an
it.
iguana.
Here it is. Not
Yeah,
only
or-
that,
yeah.
but the 72 article says that they did a sketch of it
Okay.
because they didn't know what it was. And they sent that sketch to the then curator of the Cincinnati Zoo, who looked at it and basically said, we don't have anything like that, but this is what they saw. So I did verify that a sketch was made. It was sent there. That guy really was the curator. He
Wow.
existed.
Wow.
Why are you going through all that if it's in the trunk of your car?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that it was this creature, because that sketch that everybody says what they saw is not the actual sketch. I've never been able to find the actual sketch.
Right.
But my point is that if this second officer, if he really did on that night in 72, shoot it, kill it, chuck it in the car, why are you making sketches?
Right.
And I think that might have something to do with why the first officer is like, I'm not getting involved in it.
Probably, yeah. He muddied the waters. The validity of the story is completely in shambles at that
Yeah,
point. You
yes,
know,
exactly.
There's no. I mean, it's not. It's a shame. I mean, it really is a shame. But so, how do you get from iguana to weird frogman, mystical shaman with a
Wand.
magic wand? You know, performing ceremonies
I think it's
in the river. Like, how did that come about?
I think it's 3 puffs and 2 beers.
Right. Or, geez,
No,
something a little stronger.
This is why I became fascinated with it, is because I was thinking the same thing, because the two things that you can consider iconic is that this frog creature is 5 to 6 foot tall, walking on 2 feet, and has a magic wand.
That's it. That's everything. That's everything.
And that's why
all I
I think the
needed to
legend persists. It's
Yeah.
because, damn, I want that thing
want
to be
that
real.
to be
I want it to be
real.
real.
It'd be pretty cool.
I
if it was
want to
real.
have that ceremony performed on me.
Right.
What if they're out there still?
I mean, 2016 Pokemon Go guy.
Yeah,
Any validity to that?
no, absolutely,
Absolutely
not.
not.
Absolutely not.
I remember, yeah.
But in the 2016 version, it was still oversized frog hopping around or running like iguana. In 1955, there was, and in some of the 72 stories, they'll say like a businessman saw the same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
There was no businessman, but in 1955, first he was a maitre d', and then he was a waiter, but he basically worked in restaurants. A man named Robert Honeycutt
Okay.
was coming back from work in Cincinnati, middle of the night. He was approaching Loveland, so he was in the same kind of area, but he wasn't he wasn't that close to the river.
The Little Miami, Big Miami.
Correct. So he's in the general area, but not really. But he sees something on the side of the road. Headlights hit something in a field. So there's no water involved. He thought eventually, at first, that it was 3 men kneeling on the side of the road. So I love this. He's quoted as saying, so he stopped the car to see what was up. He said he thought that maybe they were praying or doing something because they were short. When he got out and he looked, he saw that they were not human.
Whoa.
And how he described them as they were about 3 to 4 foot tall. They were human-like, except they were entirely gray. And he couldn't tell if it was an outfit or if their skin was gray, because it was all uniform and tight.
Like gray aliens, maybe.
Yeah. And he said that their chests were like bulging on one side. So it was kind of like one arm was shorter than the other, because they were kind of like leaned out, like all weird looking.
Quasimodo on the front.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that he said that they appeared to be bald. The head was gray. They had wrinkles on the tops of their head, and then 2 dots for eyes, no nose, and then a long, wide mouth, which he said when he looked at it, here it comes, reminded him of a frog. So that's when I say, ladies and gentlemen, the Loveland Frog just became a man.
Right.
That's why in some versions they say Loveland Frog man. But one of them, there was one standing in the front, two almost like a triangle, like the two were further back on either side. The one in the front held up a metal rod. He said it looked metal, and blue sparks shot out of it. There's your magic wand.
Holy shit.
And at that point, he's like, I don't know if I like what's going on. He said then that the one in the front took the metal rod and put it down near his leg, and he thought that he was like attaching it or something, but that they appeared to be looking not at him, but across into the field. He looks over in the field. He doesn't see anything, but he's like, I'm out of here. He leaves. The first place he goes is the police chief's house, middle of the night, which is where I say that's instant credibility that he at least believed it was something, because if you're like, I think I just saw these weird creatures. Yeah. Let's go to the police station.
It wasn't kids playing with sparklers late at night.
The chief actually said, because he's interviewed, didn't smell alcohol. He didn't appear to be under the influence, but the guy, but Honeycutt appeared petrified. So much so that the officer grabbed his gun and a Polaroid camera because he was like, I wanted to see it too. Yeah. And they went back out there. They saw like an indentation where those creatures or whatever.
Something was there.
Something was there. And then they both said that they smelt something like, I'm not going to remember, but it was like, oh, I'm sorry, burnt alfalfa and almonds. And I'm like, the hell does that even smell like? But they both said it smelled like that. And that afterwards, they both reported that from time to time driving past that area, they would smell the same stuff. Obviously, and that's what I say in the presentation, whatever they shot at in 72 is not what those things were. I'm convinced those three things weren't of this world.
Oh, yeah, they were definitely ETs. I mean, to me, that's what it feels like.
And that's where the story is so fascinating to me, because you've got to pull those apart, but it's a lot easier to slap them together, go, here's your frog, and move on.
Yeah, that wide, that wide, weird smile, that's the only thing that kind of I'm hung up on a little bit, because grays typically, so maybe it's just a different type of ET, but the grays have that little slit in their mouth for their mouth. But boy, I mean, the first story to me seems more valid than the 72.
Correct.
For sure.
I think I don't know what it was, but I believe the first officer in 72 did see something. Yeah. Now, whether or not it was a tailless iguana. Yeah. I don't know, but I think he really saw something.
4 foot, 5 foot.
Yeah, I think it was an iguana. It was something because he describes it as running. Yeah. So it's not standing upright like the ones from 55 were.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you go to Loveland, Ohio, that area is a place where some weird frog creature would live. Those river valleys, it's beautiful there. Yeah. It's such a beautiful, we have friends that live in Loveland. But that whole area, I mean, outside of Mason and into Loveland is just magical. Yes. And it's got a vibe to it, dude.
It's got a castle too.
Yeah. Yeah.